Hey there, welcome back. This is the 6th video in the Test First development series, and in this one, we're going to talk about testing exceptions and error cases. So if you see here, we've got our happy path tests, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to start a new test here, and I'm going to call it public void test error conditions. We could call it anything we want. We could call it invalid inputs. There are a lot of ways to do this. And actually, a nice thing, if you want to have these run after the happy path, you could do something like put an X in the prefix so that it'll alphabetically show up at the end. So let's review our business rules and see what are some invalid inputs. So one invalid input would be a blank drink name. Another would be a drink name that's over 50 characters. Another would be an invalid drink name. We could try that. And another would be a quantity that is 0 or negative or greater than 5. So those are all some edge cases we can test on our place order function. So let's write a little bit of code. So the function that would fail would be coffee shop dot place order with this kind of input. If we said drink name equals blank and quantity equals 1. So that is an expression that should fail. And NUnit gives us a really nice way to test for that. So what I like to use, there are a few different ones, but the one I really like is this, which is assert.throws. And there are a couple overloads, but I like to do the one where you give it the type of the exception that's going to come back. Now, this is, we're just going to use the generic exception right now, though you might choose in your app to define application-specific exceptions, and then you would use those types. That works really well. So we're going to say that this throws. And now what we have to do is provide a delegate. And we can just use a little anonymous or lambda expression here, a predicate expression. And now what we're saying is that this parameterless function that we're going to call should throw the type of exception. So let's build that, make sure that compiles. And let's bring up our test runner, our test explorer, and let's run this test. So the test failed. Well, that's interesting because we know the method failed, but it failed because it threw the wrong kind of exception. Right now, our code is throwing a system.notImplemented exception. And once our code starts working correctly, it should throw system.exception, or maybe we'll choose system.invalidargument exception or some more specific one. So this is really nice because NUnit is testing that it throws the proper exception. Now, there's a variation on this that I'll show you that I don't favor, where you can say assert.catch and you don't have to specify the type. And this basically means just make sure that it throws any exception and it's not really checking which kind of exception it's going to throw. So what you'll notice if we write the test that way, and then where did I put the test explorer? Here it is, I docked it. And let's run it again. What you'll notice is that in this case, the test passes because it's not checking that. It's basically saying, I want to make sure that function fails, but I don't care how it fails. So I don't favor this. I really like catching typed exceptions. I think these are stronger tests. So now we can just rinse, wash, and repeat. So this is blank drink name. That's an error. What are the other ones? We can have a invalid drink name. We could have drink name too long. We could have quantity too small, and we could have quantity too large. So what I will do is just copy this. And then we can adjust it. So let's say that this is a coffee shop, and so a gin and tonic is going to be an invalid drink name. We know that. And then a drink name that is over 50 characters, well, we could just do something like this. So that'll give us a 51 character string, which probably fails both invalid and too long. It's all right. And then here we're going to say latte because we know that's good, and we'll do -1. You know, in fact, maybe what we should do is quantity 0 as a special test case. 0, and then quantity of 6. So there we go. Those should all throw. Now, when we run this now, it's going to fail on the first one, and then the test will stop. But once we get our code going, these should all pass. So those are error conditions on placing an order. We have a few other rules we could look at. Get order status needs an ID that could be invalid, and cancel order could needs a valid ID. So let's just write those. So invalid ID for cancel, and invalid ID for get order status. So assert.throws, and again, we'll just stick with our generic exception here, and then coffee shop.cancel order. And I think we know that -1 will always be an invalid order ID. So that should test that one pretty well. And then we can copy this and paste it here and get order status. All right, so those are some exceptions. This is a really important part of building a bulletproof test suite. So now I'll pause it there. You can take a little time, write your own exceptions and handler or your own exception tests, and I'll be back with you in a little bit for more.